we have a legacy of brutal violence in our society, and violent masculinity in the United States of America is not countercultural. It's actually normative. It's impossible to talk about violence without talking about men. Men commit the overwhelming majority of violence. That's a simple statement of fact. Violence is done with the purpose of gaining something. So we have to always ask, when you see an act of violence, what was the person doing it, seeking to gain by using violence? Rather than thinking of it as some just completely impulsive act that came out of nowhere, there's typically a belief system that underlies the choice to use violence. If we don't talk about that belief system, then we're just skimming the surface. So many young men growing up today, especially white men, but not exclusively, have a sense of aggrieved entitlement. In other words, they think they're owed certain things by the society because historically white men have had all kinds of advantages. And a lot of men are resentful and angry that they're not getting some of what they think they should be getting. And so as a result, some of those men are turning to violence. When men act out violently, we shouldn't think, oh my God, how did this happen? How could this possibly happen? It's like, that is so naive. Our culture has deep roots in violence, whether it was the original European colonial settlers coming over here and literally murdering and then genociding the Native American populations, or slavery at the foundation of the country, which is an organized system of brutal violence, organized and institutional, not just individual. I mean, that's the history, or part of the history of our country. The only hope that we have in our society for really coming up with effective responses and solutions, both on the individual level and on the institutional level, on the political level, is to have honest conversations about how we're socializing boys, how we're defining manhood. A lot of boys and young men and adult men are so emotionally illiterate that the only emotion that they can really identify is anger. The only emotion that is often accepted in certain kinds of public ways in male peer cultures is anger. And if we don't talk about any of this, we're just going to be lurching from one tragedy to the next, which, by the way, we've been doing for decades now. There's a lot of white men who agree with a lot of what I've been saying, but they don't say it out loud. They say it privately. They say it supportively sometimes, but they need to say that out loud. Men need to start standing up. Men need to start challenging other men. Men need to start modeling for other men and young men that there's a way to be a man that is not abusive, that's not oppressive, and that in fact uses whatever privilege you have, whatever status you have, whatever platform you have, to elevate others, including women. And that doesn't come in a way, that doesn't diminish you. That actually empowers you. That actually makes you bigger. It makes you better. It makes you a more full and fully realized human being.